Elsmeyer. I am the Director of Data Curation at Legal Tech Hub. I'm here with Erica Birstler, who is the Senior Director of Product Marketing at ProfitSolv. And today we are going to look at Rocket Matter and see what it's all about. Hi, Erica. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So we're going to start. I'm just going to ask you a couple questions to get us all on the same page about Rocket Matter and what it all does. And then you're going to take us into a demo. We're going to see how it works firsthand. So you're not the founder, but this is quite a large company as part of again, you're with ProfitSolv, which is the parent company of Rocket Matter. But could you tell us a little bit about the start of Rocket Matter, who founded it, and what their kind of idea was?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been in legal tech for just over 13 years now myself. So I'm pretty familiar with all of the products that have been out there and the history of Rocket Matter as well. And it really started back in 2008, where our founder, Larry Port, was looking for a way to bring modern cloud technology into the legal space, to introduce, believe it or not, the idea of cloud, which was not very common back then in the legal space specifically, and to just introduce that vertical to more modern technology, have a better solution for Mac users, and also to bring the practice management component, which is like your events, your tasks, your notes, your documents, just your day-to-day, along with the time and billing aspects. So really introducing what legal practice management is in the cloud today and just kicking that off the ground. And there's been a lot of growth since.
Yeah, it's so funny to think about how 2008 wasn't that long ago, but yeah, cloud technology was so foreign, the concept of it, and so scary to so many people that now you think like everything's on the cloud. You upload everything to Google Docs or OneDrive or anything. But now, like at the time, it was just like people really thought, are you crazy for putting stuff on the cloud? And this is unethical. It was a real barrier to get any sort of like leverage with legal and anyone accepting of this idea that you weren't
Absolutely.
like,
You're
now it's
stealing
just
my
so,
data. Yeah,
yeah.
we had to educate a lot about security and just understanding what the cloud is and the fact that it's still technically server-based, just not in your office, and that having data in your office isn't necessarily more secure. There's a lot more resources protecting your data elsewhere. And there was years of just education on that front. And that goes for all of the cloud players in the practice management space. But we're very fortunate that within the last few years, it's been life-changing for so many businesses, never mind law firms, to be able to leverage technology wherever they are and really understand that this is the future of technology, or this is the present really of technology.
Yeah. With Rocket Matter and any practice management software, I always think of them as the Swiss Army knife of legal tech. But what specifically are the use cases that people can expect to handle with Rocket Matter? And your customer base, who is it designed for? If you could tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I would say we're fairly practice management agnostic. We do have a lot of features that lend well to certain practice areas, like with trust accounting and with leads billing and with split billing. And those do tend to go towards certain practice areas, but really it is a playground for all. In terms of the size of a law firm, I would say that our sweet spot is around 20 lawyers plus staff. We do have firms that are much larger than that as well, but I would say that tends to be the sweet spot of those that are looking for a product like Rocket Matter that is fairly set up for them, but they can configure it more to their liking if they choose, but they don't have to. So I would say any legal demographic, so any practice area, partners, associates, staff, bookkeepers, all of them have been users in our software and can utilize everything from billing to the calendaring to collaborating through tasks, workflows. All of that's accessible to the users if you permit them, of course, because we do have in-depth permissions as well.
So again, the practice management space, huge. What would you say makes Rocket Matter special? What differentiates you from others in the group?
I would say, at least with how we've been developing Rocket Matter over the years, especially in this past year, we spent a lot of time prioritizing a few things. One being usability. Firms want, or really any business wants, a tool that is easy for their staff to pick up on, but also just easy for day to day. This administrative work that law firms have to do is not billable typically. So I want to be able to do it quickly and efficiently and get it done and move on with my day. So we've been really focusing on, and I'll give you examples too when I show you the system about how they can really work very quickly and efficiently. The other is having that deep native practice management without full dependency on integrations. You can have your documents stored within the system. You can use the built-in calendar if you want. If you want to use integrations, you can, but it's not required. So a firm could really decide, do I want to just focus on one application or do I want to purchase multiple applications and integrate that way? So it gives them options. Another way is flexibility. I will tell you that when I first came into the legal tech space, like I said, it was around 2011 or so, everybody wanted something out of the box. I don't want to have to configure it. I don't want to have to set it up, especially small firms, were saying, just give me a product and let me run with it. Let me get started real quick. Now I feel like law firms are really catching up to other industries where it's, I want this to fit my workflow, how my firm operates, the type of staff that I have and their preferences. So we've really pivoted towards direction of flexibility to configure how you look at your data, how you use your system, even the tiers that you can choose from. It's a you shop and choose the product or the tier that works best for you. You can add in CRM, you can add in websites, you can add in payment processing. So it's really the sky's the limit, but it's up to the firm as to how much of that they want to utilize. But those that want to can really benefit hugely by setting up a system in a way that really promotes that efficiency and just overall operational improvement in their firm. We have a lot of firms, especially if you have a firm that's just starting out that doesn't really know their needs just yet. They'll say, in general, I know I want cloud and I know I want to run my day to day and I want to save time. Like I don't want to spend a lot of time managing my practice, but I want to do it well. And so that's where I think they might come in on maybe our lower tier and build in over time. And you could also have firms that are well established, that's been around for years or decades and know exactly what their needs are. And they go, nope, that's the one for me. That's what I want to utilize. I don't want to lose any functionality. So I really like that idea of it's not a one size fits all. It is recognizing that every firm operates differently, whether it's the size of your firm or the focus of your firm, and they can really choose what works best for them. And like you said, change it over time if they need to. Yeah. And just one more thing to mention, I do feel for Rocket Matter, especially over many years, what set us apart is our support. Our training, our onboarding, our very responsive support team, which is hard to come by in the, I wouldn't even say specifically the legal space, but just software space in general. It can be quite frustrating. So that's something we put a lot of pride in. And we've been an award-winning support team for several years now. And I just think that's great. It really, I always say the user experience and how they interact with you and your company is a feature in itself when somebody's looking for a solution. So
Absolutely, because again, within this space of the practice management, often it's companies or firms that don't have dedicated tech trainers, dedicated innovation counsel who are managing it's very smaller firms or just you're very much doing it for yourself. And also it's just the first part of the relationship is the onboarding and the figuring out how to best use it. It's so great to have customer support and trainers and other people who are partnering with you to keep the relationship going after the check is signed, basically, and to keep that's just like the first part of successful tech implementation is the onboarding. It's the continuing use and the continuing training.
We want our users to feel supported. We understand, and we've gone through this as a business ourselves, me personally, where we've changed tools internally. And I will tell you, when that happens, we're often like, oh boy, we can relate to our users now. Like we get it.
So I think we're ready for the demo. If you're ready to show us, I'll get the most out of all the bells
and whistles. Sure.
And I always like with these, if there's like hidden nuggets that you always think, I wish people knew more about this. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I plan on today, of course, if anybody wants to see more, they can reach out to us and get a full in-depth demo. But for the sake of today, that's what I plan on doing is highlighting what our users have told us that they really love. And that's really helped them function better as a practice. So the first thing I'm going to point out, there we go. First thing is this is a practice management application. So your matters are the heart of that. So I can see in my matter section here, all my important information, all of my different files. I can even just search up here for specific file if I needed to. But in addition to the detail, like I can drill down into these files and I could add and do a whole bunch of actions and see a whole bunch of detail. But what we've learned from our users is just being able to do something quickly and in the moment is really important. So I absolutely love our quick actions. And come up here and they could say, you know what, I'm on a phone call, but I need to enter a time card or enter a note or record a phone message or do something right now. And I don't want to be digging to find the file. So they could just say time, and then they could just type in whatever that file is, pull that up and go about their entry, which I think is really great. We've gotten great feedback on this type of feature.
Yeah.
Another thing is what I like to call is my keyboard lovers that want to just quickly work from wherever they are is we do have keyboard shortcuts. So you can just hit T and I get to that same screen, that add card, or N, and that'll take me to add a note. So ways to do the same thing in a really quick and efficient way is leaning towards that usability point that I mentioned. Just make it really easy for me to go about my day and make sure I'm recording, because when you miss these notes and you miss these time entries, like it impacts your business, relationship with your client, the amount of revenue that you make as a firm, and they're all very important.
And I like it that you give people many options to get to the same place. Because again, like some people are,
Mhm.
I like key shortcuts.
And we have a mobile app too. So some people mostly from their mobile app as well. So it really just depends on, like you said, personal preference, which we try to lead into. Some other features like we're tracking time. There's a couple of items here I wanted to highlight where most individuals, if they're doing hourly work, they're tracking their time and billing for their time, and getting that tracked in a reasonable amount of time or forgetting about it completely is quite common. So we have features like a timesheet where I can come in here and I can maybe just start my entries. I could start a timer. I can come back to it later. I can put bits and pieces of an entry and I just don't have time to pull in the full description and come back to it. This is like a holding area for items that I know I need to track time for. I'm starting the process, but I need to come back to later. And then lunchtime, end of day, whenever I can come here and post them all to their files. And it
Okay.
just ensures that they're captured. And
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
way of putting a pin in it. Something else, which is somewhat of a newer concept not newer, it's been around for quite some time, but I would say in practice management applications themselves, is called passive time tracking. So we have a built-in application called Rocket Matter Track. And what that does is it's actually, I'll pull this up here. This is a desktop application that a user can choose to install on their device. It will track your activity just to say you were in this document for X amount of minutes or hours, or you were in this browser tab. Because we look back on our days and wonder, what did I do with all of my time? And especially if
Yeah.
it's, you want to make sure that you're capturing that. So you can take certain, I can highlight a few here, drag it on over to a timer, and then I can choose if I want to bill this timer to a client. And it's not going to give details as what you did on your computer and where you were at
Oh, yeah.
time. It's just letting you know that you spent 23 minutes doing this group of activities, and then you can go ahead and post that onto the file. So it's fantastic for those that really struggle with capturing their time. And this is included with Rocket Matter. You don't have to purchase an outside software and integrate it.
Oh, that's nice too. Yeah, that's great because that is one of those things that you just get doing your job and you forget that. Oh, I should have written down what did I do in that hour there? Because I know I like looked up two different things and yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And it helps you with your details on your invoices as well, because I know I might time block and say, okay, I'm spending 3 hours working on this file, but most people don't want to just, or most clients won't like a 3 hour time block to just say, did stuff. They
Yeah,
want to know
yeah.
what actually you did with that time. So it allows you to get a little bit more perspective of the specific activities that you did within that time frame.
Yeah.
The other thing is flexibility. So we talked about making things easier for the firm, allowing them to track things quickly, the flexibility piece. So allowing me to see information in the way that I want to as a user. So if I go back to my Matters screen here, I can see the way that I've set this up. I have my file number, my client, my billing balances are here. That's important information for me, but I can change that and I can decide which columns I want. So I can add, I can remove, I can change the order of these columns. I can also change the sort of each of these columns, and I can go ahead and even change,
Oh,
maybe I like
nice.
this to be a little bit more spread out for myself and my vision and my preference. I can do that too. So I love the ability to really customize the screens, but also to save it. So I can save this as not my default view or just as a normal view, and I can hop between these views throughout the day. So I can have different views like reports that give me different
Oh, wow.
information that I need. And I even can share it. So I can say, I'm going to create a view. Is this private just for me? Do I want to share this with a specific user or with a specific role? Or do I
Okay,
want to make
cool.
it public for the whole firm? So it allows you to work so much better together, especially if what you do day to day is very role specific. Clear out the clutter, make it work best for you and possibly other people on the team.
That's a really neat feature, yeah. Because that's the thing. I know the way I like things, and I
Hmm.
just assume that's the best way.
Yeah. And
Obviously, everyone else has their own best way of doing things, and it's so
yeah.
nice that you can make it extensible.
A big part of this is online collaboration, because there's one thing with cloud technology to be able to be remote. I can work from home, I can work from travel, sure. But how do I work with others when I'm in that situation? Like, how do I ensure that we're looking at information together? They can comment to each other in here. We have instant messaging in here. You can assign tasks to other users. I think for years it was, oh, cloud just allows me to work remote. It allows you to work a lot more effectively and collaboratively. Even if you're in the same office space, I can comment on something or share something instead of having a meeting about it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it saves
Sold.
time. It allows you to remain focused. It really impacts productivity to be able to ask a quick question in an instant message. We do it within our own instant messaging platforms. You could do that right within here and just work better together and share views and other information with them as well.
And I think also talk about this a lot, but we're into these now multi-generational workspaces,
Yeah,
and younger associates, younger attorneys, even younger paralegals or paraprofessionals, they don't like to talk in person or call on the phone to ask a question.
yeah, I know.
This
So
is such
true.
a great way of like making it a little less scary to ask, especially also when you're new and you're like, I don't know how to do anything, but I don't want to like keep pestering people. Like this seems a little bit less scary.
And you can even, if I pull up tasks, for instance, I can find a particular task and I can choose to be emailed if once this is completed. So send email when task is completed. Now, if it's not completed, I can go ahead and comment on this task and say, hey, so and so, what's the progress on this? Instead of it, again, being a meeting or being a phone call, and they can respond really quickly. I used to think that instant messaging was going to be a huge, massive distraction when it first came out in the corporate world. And actually, it's not. It's so much more efficient because I can ask a quick question, get a quick answer, and move on to my next task. The last couple of things I wanted to show is dashboards. So that's something that firms, businesses, users love. And what I like here is I can set up this is a dashboard that I actually created and I can change the layout. So I
Nice.
don't want this here. I want this to be bigger, or, I can shift anything around, add new tiles, and really have this dashboard work in a way that works best for me. And I can also just create as many custom dashboards as I want. So
Oh,
same rules apply. I can name this, I could share it if it's relevant to other people or have it just for myself, choose the layout, and then those views come into play where I create those custom views and then I can have them display on my dashboards. So really pushing that, see your data the way you want it, all the way into your visual dashboards that you log into every single day.
yeah, I really am liking the configurability and like the personalization that you can do with Rocket Matter, that it really does give people the option to like data, like dashboard. Like I love a dashboard. I love all the data I can get about everything, but I know not everyone does that. Some people really just want like maybe one or two things they're tracking and that's all they want to know about. And the
Yeah.
fact that you can create these and share them, and also there's things I'm tracking I don't need anyone to know about that I'm tracking.
For my boss, maybe I am working for a particular partner in the firm and I know there's certain information that they like to see from me every day. I can create a dashboard, share it with them, and know that they have that in front of them every day instead of me figuring out how to get that information, get it in a report, send it on over to them. Again, it just allows for that working together and collaborating in a much more simplistic fashion, but actually increasing your visibility of the information that you need.
Yeah, and again, it's a little bit less friction. There's a dashboard here
Yeah.
if you want to check in, but instead of me sending a report all the time, or I know you can always come back to this dashboard and see it.
And the last piece I want to talk about is, so we have our QuickBooks integration, and this is very common in the practice management space, of course, but this really, in my opinion, is industry leading. This is my background. I have quite a background in supporting law firms in their financials and their accounting. And every bookkeeper has their own preferences as to how they're going to do the financials for a business, how they run QuickBooks, how they set up QuickBooks. They have their little quirks as to what's most important to them. And so rather than trying to have a one size fits all with how your billing data goes into QuickBooks, we've created, and this is my system's actually already synced, but you can see the type of decisions that they get, like they can choose their synced start date. Not every sync allows you to do that. I map my different bank accounts, both for business and for trust. We have features like hard costs, which are the costs that a client pays or a firm pays out of pocket that they need the client to reimburse them for. How that gets recorded on your books can be very specific based on the jurisdiction that you're in, the type of client that it is. And so it does give them a lot more flexibility rather than lumping it in with business costs.
It's well thought through that it is for
Yeah.
the legal customer, and like that it is again the way people, because different jurisdictions are different, firms are different, practice areas are different in what they collect and how they collect it. It's nice that this is like very much configurable for that, for what your needs are as a customer.
We've had so much feedback from legal bookkeepers over the years that use QuickBooks, that love QuickBooks, and they want to use it, which is great. They get frustrated with the syncs between their billing application and QuickBooks to the point where sometimes they don't even use it and they end up creating more work for themselves because it's not working in the way that they'd like. So we really prioritized a way of making these syncs really appeal to those that are actually handling the finances for the firm and not just, oh, it's a QuickBooks integration, great, but no, how does it work? What do I have control over? What decisions can I make? And it's everything from how my invoices come over, do my payments come over, how are my contact duplicates detected? All of that, they have choices and decisions that they can make when they configure their integration. And if this is a one person shop and they're like, I don't have time for that, I just want it out of the box, they can do that too. They have the option of using kind of the default setup or to go a lot more configurable, which at the end of the day will probably make their bookkeeper a lot happier. It really does scale with your firm. It really is, I guess you could say it's almost a one size fits all because it's so flexible. You can make it fit your firm. But yeah, that's really the goal. Is we've really evolved over the years from going from having a simple solution that any law firm can use to being a more configurable solution that any law firm can change in a way that works best for them and their staff. So that's been our evolution over, especially the last couple of years, to just make it a lot easier to use. And if you're willing to put in the time to figure out the configuration that works best, it will make everybody's lives a lot easier and their jobs a lot easier in the long run.
Nice. Yeah, very adaptable. Very nice.
So yeah, that's my quick overview. Like I said, there's tons to talk about. There's so many Matter activities that you could do within Rocket Matter. And obviously, if anybody wants to learn more, they could always reach out for a demo.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This has been very
You're
educational.
welcome.
I've enjoyed learning about Rocket Matter. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, my name is Sarah Glassmeyer and it is Erica Birstler from ProfitSolv. And this was an LTH product briefing on Rocket Matter.